What?
What?
What the hell is this?
Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph.
Harumph? You watch your ass.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Let the show begin.
Hey everybody, this is David Heretic coming at you with another edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. And tonight, okay, making their debut on the channel tonight, we have Homestuck. Yes, indeed, how about that? Homestuck making their debut on the channel. Before we go any further, for those of you who are feeling inclined to doing all of the clicks and the likes and the bibbity bop, do me a favor, before you do all that stuff, please watch the whole video first, okay? Give me a chance to actually earn those clicks and likes. Now, after the video's done, if you still feel like doing all those clicks and likes, then by all means, feel free to click away. This comes as a request from Liam Rucker, and Liam wanted to see me react to this song by Homestuck called Heir of Grief. Now, have I heard this song before? No, I have not. To the best of my knowledge, this does not resonate with me in any way, shape, or form. However, there's always a possibility I may have heard this song in passing and I just don't realize it. So as always, if I start listening to the song and I suddenly go, wait a second. This is sounding kind of familiar. I'll let you know.
That's the truth.
You know me, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Let's see, this was posted by Imperious Marxist, okay? And the video has 1.5 million views. It'll get you there. Other than that, there's really nothing else left to say. Link to the original video will be down below in the video description for your viewing pleasure at your leisure. Let's get started. What do you say? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we go. All right, here we go. Homestuck S, Collide track 4, Heir of Grief. Cool. All right, let's do this.
All right, boy, let's do this.
Six, eight, okay. So something tells me we have an instrumental track here. We're not quite halfway, but we're well past the 2-minute mark. And there's been, first of all, there's been no vocal work whatsoever. And secondly, it doesn't sound to me like there's been any attempt made to set up a transition into vocal work. So this really feels like it's an instrumental track. Okay, cool. Listen, as an instrumental track, it's not bad. It's actually pretty darn good. I do feel like it is a little linear. I know there's been some changes as far as voicings, and there's been okay. Yeah. Here's where it's gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm actually not. Has there been dynamics? Yes, as a direct result of bringing in and taking out voicings. By default, that has increased and decreased volume. But the voicings that are there have had absolutely no dynamic play whatsoever. The piano has been at the exact same dynamic the entire time. The distorted guitars have been at the exact same dynamic the entire time. The drums have been at the exact same dynamic the entire time. Do you see what I'm saying? You're pulling voices out, yes, and that brings the volume down by default. And you're taking voices and you're inserting them, which raises the volume by default. But those voices have had absolutely zero dynamic play within themselves at all. As a result, the song does end up sounding a little one-dimensional. It's been very linear the entire time. There's been no change in direction. There's been no change in time signatures. There's been no change in feel. There's been no change in tempo. There's been no change in key signature. There's been no changes whatsoever other than pulling out voices and inserting voices. That's literally been it. Is there anything wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're asking me, is this impressing you? My answer is going to be no. I mean, it's literally taking out voices and putting in voices. That's literally it. Other than that, the riffs have been the exact same. Chord progression has been the exact same. Melodic lines have been the exact same. Everything else has been the same. So it's linear, it's one directional, but it does sound good. It does, what is being played does sound good. I'm not going to sit here and say it's great, but it is good. Okay. Time will tell. We still got time. We still got well over 3 minutes, almost 4. A lot can happen in that time. You know, maybe they'll change things up. Maybe they'll spice things up a little bit. Maybe they'll actually play with dynamic usage rather than pulling out and inserting voices. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, time will tell. Let's get back into this. Very overdriven. Bring it down, guys. If you're gonna bring it down, bring it down. gotta be a lean into the next track, right? But if it's a lead into the next track, why is there so much dead time? That's suspicious. If you're going to have that type of ambient sound and that swelling and cuts off, if it was like a second or two, I could understand that, but there was seriously like 6 seconds. Hold on, how much time was there? It was like, okay, it said 10, but we're at 9 seconds of dead air? Nah. That does not tell me that we're going into the next track. You know, that there shouldn't really be any dead time at all. It's not bad. Okay, this is not, we're not going to be in the negatives. I can promise you that. We're not going to be under a 5. But at the same time, if you're expecting an 8 or a 9, I got some bad news for you. Let me get my thoughts together. I'll see you in the review, and we'll talk about it. Well, there you go, folks. That was Homestuck with Heir of Grief. This was a request from Liam Rucker. Okay, I have my suspicions about how this request came about. I do have my suspicions. Now, I don't know if they're true or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll tell you what my suspicions are. Let's talk about the suspicions first. I suspect that this project, this band, this act, this band Homestuck, I suspect Liam Rucker has some hand in this. Now, I don't know if Liam Rucker is the sole proprietor of this act. Maybe he's the one playing everything. It's very possible. He might be a band member. I'm not 100%. He might be the engineer. I'm not 100% sure, but something tells me Liam Rucker has a hand in this somewhere. I don't know where, but I suspect this is his baby. I suspect that Liam is, he does all the guitars, the bass, the drums, keyboards, everything. I suspect that. And he wanted to get my opinion on what he's come up with. Okay, well, here's the thing. I have absolutely no problem with that. I actually have a lot of respect for bands who, submit their own material and they want my opinion. They want to know what I think of it. I have a lot of respect for bands who are willing to put them out there put themselves out there in the public eye for the specific reason of being critiqued. It shows a lot of character. It shows a lot of guts. It really does. Whenever you create something and you put it out there, you're going to have people who praise it and you're going to have critics. I mean, it's just, that is the way of life. And that is the way of reality. And I love it when people get on me like, who are you to judge? Well, who are you? Sorry, but let's point that finger the other direction. And you want to judge me? Okay, that's fine. You can judge me, but at the same time, you're going to get judged yourself. So, and I understand that. I know that whenever I adjudicate or I critique or whatever, I understand there's going to be people that, come after me. And I know this. I don't like it, but I understand it. Okay? So I'm not going to sit there and say, you're wrong for critiquing me. No, you're not. You can critique me all you want. It's not going to change anything. I'm still going to be the same guy I've always been on the channel. But I do have a lot of respect for bands who put themselves out there like this, and I have a lot of respect for them. Now, having said that, I'm not going to take it easy on them. I'm going to hold them to the same standards as any other band that finds its way onto this channel. So keep that in mind, okay? I'm still going to be, I'm going to be tough, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion. So, and I hope that bands that want to get my opinion understand that I'm not going to pull any punches. And when they make these kind of requests, I've had bands say, we don't want you to pull punches. We really do want to know what you think. Well, that's great, because that's what you're going to get. So in any case, that's my suspicion. I could be wrong, but that is my suspicion. Having said that, I'm not going to pull any punches, and as a result, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give that a 5.7. Yep, 5.7. I feel good about that score. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Okay, first things first, a 5.7. What does that mean? It's not as bad as you might think. A 5.7 would equate out to an okay scale rating. So overall, I think the song's okay. It would also get 3 out of 5 stars and a C+ letter grade. Yeah, not a C, a C+. So there you go, a 5.7, okay scale rating, 3 out of 5 stars, and a C+ letter grade. Now, how did I come up with that score? So glad you asked. It's solid. Okay, I will say that. I didn't hear anything from a chordal progression or from a melodic line or a harmonic line. I didn't hear anything that stuck out like a sore thumb. Okay, nothing sounded sour. Everything sounded like it was well constructed. Everything sounded like it was well thought out. Okay, everything that was played across the board was positive. All right, I will absolutely give credit where credit's due. Having said that, there are some issues. There are some, and some of the issues are pretty glaring. The biggest glaring issue, the two biggest glaring issues, and they kind of go hand in hand in some respects, but in other respects they are completely different. The dynamics, both from an engineering standpoint and from a musicianship standpoint. What was played was fine. How it was played, not always. Every single time the piano came in, it came in at the exact same dynamic. Every time the electric guitar came in, whether it was playing chords, melodic line, or soloing, it was at the exact same dynamic. Every single time that the acoustic guitar tone would come in, it would come in at, surprise, surprise, the exact same dynamic. Now, what does that lead out to? Well, it leads out to consistency, yes, but at the same time, there's absolutely no diversity. It sounds the exact same way, the exact same time, every single time, which ends up making the song sound very linear. There was dynamic usage because by default of the pulling out of voicings and the insertion of voicings. You take out the piano, your volume's going to come down. You put the piano back in, your volume's going to come back up. You take out the electric guitar, the volume's going to drop significantly. You put the electric guitar back in, it comes back up again. It's very linear. It's not very diverse, okay? I'm sorry, but it's not. It's predictable to some extent. It would have been nice if we had, within the musicianship, within the instrumentation itself, when we wanted to come down, why don't we play a little easier, a little softer, play with dynamics within the musicianship, take some of that burden off of mix, off of engineering, off of post-production. But even then, the post-production really didn't do anything to benefit that. As a matter of fact, there were a number of times where I feel like the post-production might have been a little too loud, and as a result, some of those voicings cracked and distorted a little bit because they were so overdriven. And I'm not talking about the electric guitars. I'm talking about like the piano. There were places coming into the ending where the piano started to crack, and I don't know. It just feels like we could really take another crack at the engineering of this, because it needs to have a second look for sure. As far as what was played, like I said, I have no issue with anything that was played. Everything was solid across the board. But again, it was very one-dimensional. Every single time the piano came in, it played the exact same chordal progression. Every single time the electric guitars came in with the chords, they played the exact same chordal progression. Now, their rhythmic pattern, their subdivision work would change up, yes, but the chords themselves never changed. So again, a little one-dimensional. The most diverse instrument that we heard through the entire song, if I'm being honest, was the drumming. When the drummer kicked in with that double pedal, with the double kick, that was a nice touch. I could feel my eyebrows go up. I was like, oh, okay, that's different. That's nice. There was a point where the drummer switched to a 4/4 pattern and played a straight ahead 4/4 pattern while everybody else stayed on that 6/8. And he made it work. It felt a little awkward, but he did make it work. And gotta tip the cap to the drummer for having the creativity to come up with that. That was really nice. The fact that the entire song was in 6/8, that was, I mean, I like 6/8. I do. It's a nice time signature, but it would be nice to see something done with that 6/8. Not just have the exact same feel the entire time. You know, the drummer switching up to that 4/4, it actually would have been really cool if everybody else had switched up to that same 4/4 pattern. Just for a little while, you know, and when the drummer came back to the 6/8, everybody comes back to the 6/8 with it. That would have shown some really nice diversity throughout the entire band, not just the drummer. So I could sum this all up. Honestly, it's solid instrumentation work. Absolutely. And for an instrumental, it did enough to keep me interested. I would have liked to have heard a little more soloing, if I'm being honest. You know, whether it be from the guitar or from the piano, it really doesn't matter, but it would have been nice to hear a little more soloing and not just the same vamping over and over and over again. But the soloing that was done was nice. It was well done. It was a nice, refreshing change from what we were hearing prior. The song was very one-dimensional, and unfortunately, that's not gonna impress me at all. Dynamics have got to come into play, both from the engineering, yes, absolutely, but also from the musicianship. Where we're gonna come down, and I don't mean bring the volume down in the mix. And don't just pull voicings out. I mean, whoever's in there still playing, play softer. You know what I mean? Absolutely needs to be done. It'll have a far more effective impact on the song rather than just, you know, bring the volume down. Well, in the mix, let's bring down the levels like 2 whole notches. Well, that's great, but you could still hear the piano hammering away instead of having a softer approach. You know what I mean? So it's very one-dimensional. Yes, it is, but it's still solid work. So that's why I'm giving it the okay score of a 5.7. I feel good about that score, and that's where we're going to stay. So let's wrap everything up here in a nice shiny bow, shall we? We have a 5.7, which is an okay scale rating, 3 out of 5 stars, and a C+ letter grade. Take your pick. I don't care. Whichever one of those floats your boat. Final word, final score, I have spoke. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Hopefully I was able to entertain you. If I was able to put a smile on your face and brighten your day, I did my job, and I'm so glad I could do it. If you guys feel like joining the fan base, go ahead and click on that button down there. If you guys want to like the video, go ahead and like the video. If you guys want to ring the bell, go ahead and ring the bell. It honestly doesn't make any difference at all to me, but if you guys feel like doing these things, well then by all means, feel free to do so. Well, that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, this is David Heretic signing off, reminding you to stay fabulous and support each other. Later. Peace.